Were you swatting bugs?
Welcome in 21/6 Net. This is Bridging Civil Tension with Phil Wallace, entrepreneur, author, coach, investor. This guy does it all, and he's in Texas today. Man, he's got more frequent flyer miles than I do. Anyway, I don't know. Of course, I'm Ken Jones with 21/6 Net, CEO, founder, and the best thing we can say is it's better to build a bridge than it is to burn one down because, well, after all, it's good to be on other people's sides. This morning, I don't know, let's jump into that Haitian border yuck down there in Texas since you're in Texas. What do you think of that, Phil?
We'll get a chance to read the article real quick. As you let us know, or you were talking in the green room that there was you said an earthquake in Haiti.
Yeah. So just recently, again, they had another huge, earthquake that rattled thing, left a lot of people homeless, and it's a pretty poor country anyway. Haiti is,
right?
And so migrants from Haiti, started their way and making it up to Del Rio, where they've actually kind of created a tent city underneath a bridge there in Rio, and it's pretty bad now because now what the American government is doing, and this is where there's some points of contention, is that they're not treating these immigrants very well. They're packing a lot of them back up and sending them back to Haiti without any chance of becoming legal immigrants.
Right.
If that makes sense.
And then there's a lot of controversy as far as how things are handled, how the people are treated. The images of cowboys with whips whipping people back into, across the river or whatever in Texas.
Yeah.
The living situation. And people are upset by it.
Special envoy to Haiti, Daniel Foote, actually resigned and sent a pretty harsh letter criticizing the treatment of Haitian migrants and deportations from the Texas border. They're basically living under an interstate bridge.
Right.
I mean, there's thousands of them. Which, the interesting thing, I guess, in Del Rio, this bridge, Phil, is used for, it's a border bridge. So a lot of people come into the United States that way. On September 17th, U.S. Customs and Border Protection was overwhelmed by the arrival of thousands of Haitian migrants, and they closed the bridge. So they're like, "Listen, we got to stop. This is getting a little bit crazy," and trucks that transport things back and forth between Mexico and the United States couldn't get across the bridge because there were so many migrants. It was bad, and crossing every day now they can't. So Del Rio down there, the border town, just to help some of our listeners, is a town of about 36,000. So what's that? About the size of Woodstock, I would guess. Yeah. And 85% of those are Latino, right? And it is also the home of Laughlin Air Force Base. So the United States Air Force is based there. With these Haitian migrants, it's really stirred up a lot of national controversy. So very, 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 very interesting what's going on. But what they're, what I think this Daniel Foote guy
Hmm.
is. I don't know what a special envoy is. I think he's so the Haitian president was assassinated earlier this year.
Right.
Um, what's up, Andrew? Glad to have you with us, brother. And so I think this the envoy is the guy who's kind of in charge of the country. I think I'm guessing. I would have to Google that, but what he said is, I'll not be associated with the United States. The inhumane, counterproductive decision to deport thousands of Haitian refugees and illegal immigrants, he said in the letter addressed to U.S. Secretary of State. The letter was publicly shared Thursday. But yeah, so you have Border Patrol, I'm going to guess. Probably you have um, I don't know what they call them down there. The marshals, right? U.S. Marshals, and they're riding horses. They're lassoing people like they're cattle. They're just
With whips.
yep, just treating people, um, horribly.
Well, there's the quote that says all migrants seeking asylum must be treated in accordance with the law and with basic decency. She said in a statement, any acts of aggression or violence cannot be tolerated and must be investigated. So I'm assuming that this is something that was put in place even prior to the current situation, which is surprising because when I read this and it says all migrants seeking asylum must be treated in accordance with the law and basic decency. We don't do this as a country.
Treat people decently.
Well, migrants seeking asylum.
Yeah.
When you watch the news and you see immigrants trying to get into the country, what's typically the correspondence or the feedback that you get?
Yeah, I mean, just by the pictures that are online, right? I mean, like I said, there's thousands of people in makeshift huts and tents, and there's a huge number of them. I mean, it's
well, yeah. But I'm saying, like, let's say it was 2 years ago, even kind of recent ice. Prior to that, the Katrina, situation, how people felt that those weren't even migrants, just how people needing help were treated. We don't really see in the news, I'm not even saying whatever, but we don't see in the news when immigrants need our help like this, that's received well or that they're treated well. We'll do the whole prayers for whatever country, but when it seems like they want to come here, I'm not seeing that same energy. I'm seeing stuff like this or stuff like kids in cages with aluminum foil blankets more so than the decency that we're speaking about in this quote right here.
I think those are space blankets. They're not aluminum foil. I think
I'm messing with you.
They're the fancy ones that you can get at I don't know, fair. I don't know. Yeah, and that's so all we hear about and all we see is the negative. Oh, they're all illegal. They're drug runners. They're gang members.
Right.
They're this. They're that. They're the third. Not that they're looking to come to America and be productive citizens, and we don't show how perhaps that we help them. Yeah, and again, we've talked about it several times. It's the narrative, and what does the puppet master want us to believe, see, and or do?
Right.
One guy, Lewis Owens, chief executive of the surrounding Valverde County, who visits the camp daily, said he hopes it empties by Saturday so that the Del Rio Ciudad Aquina International Bridge can reopen by Monday. They shouldn't be here, he said of the migrants, noting the local residents, some of whom held a protest earlier in the week, were upset by the camp. They just want them. They just don't want them here and can't figure out why this was allowed to happen. So I would guess that if there was a lot of, if there's thousands of people coming, Dan, how are you? If there's thousands of people coming across in waves,
Right.
safety in numbers, they come through. Now, they haven't. And again, I don't know if they've been, causing a ruckus, shooting off firework. I have no idea. I believe that these people are coming to America for the American dream of freedom and to build their own future.
Right.
So the interesting thing is, I think Phil, right, is how do we handle that instead of sending them back to start all over again?
Yeah. It surprises me to see that we haven't figured out in situations. I mean, if as it's going on, where there is a for this situation,
Yeah.
a protocol put in place where, okay, it's a large number that are in distress, that are in need of aid. This is how we can have everything organized. This is how we can have, living arrangement. This is how we can help them get on their feet, whether that is here or just a temporary residence until things are kind of fixed back up in Haiti well enough for them to be on their feet, versus just meeting them with horses and whips. I don't see how that's the only mode of operandi that we've figured out as a country, developed, hitting people with whips off horseback versus having some sort of center where we can.
Well, yeah, and again, I don't know if they've been unruly. I think Haiti is a French speaking country, so I would imagine there's not a huge language barrier
Right.
per se. Is a lot of people in French speaking countries can speak English as well. So there is that. Here's the deal. Haiti is like one of the poorest nations in the world.
Right.
Not in the hemisphere, in the world. And they've just, in the last 5 years, they've been just riddled with just these massive hurricanes that have killed thousands and left many homeless, and for them, it would be like you and I, Phil, going, all right, so here's what I want you to do, Phil. Grab a shirt, your shorts or pants, and a pair of shoes, and then let's walk to Texas, right? From
Right.
here. And see how that works. We got no money. No, don't take your phone. There's no such thing as a phone. No money. So we're just going to try to make our way, and see what we can do. And they show up here. So, the interesting thing is here in America, we try to then perhaps make it. Don't pick Jordans for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
You brought the Concord 11s for the. No,
that's it. The Hey Dudes, they're very comfortable. So instead of the humane thing, and I don't know what the right answer is, but I don't think I could ride a horse and whip people because they're people.
Right. Well, even when you're saying if they're causing a ruckus and stuff like that, like it's hard to hold my belongings, right? The trash bag or box full of what my life has accumulated as.
Right.
Flee through water and want to cause a ruckus. Look, I'm just trying to make sure me and my family survive this thing.
Yeah.
I'm not here to cause a whole lot of problems. I'm just trying to make sure that my kid has food, my wife has a place to sleep. Like that's all I'm focused on at that point. More so than causing a ruckus in Del Rio.
Yeah, and I mean, would you show up? Would you take that trek if you knew you were going to be whipped and beaten when you got to the place where your dreams are supposed to come true? You're supposed to have a better life.
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I would think that they're making this track because they're hoping that they're going to be met by people who are civilized and willing to at least figure out what options we have versus just I'm gonna beat you and send you on your way. Where they said they're doing what 7 flights a day, taking people back to Haiti.
Yeah.
Right. So you did all that work to get here, and we're not even gonna entertain the thought of how we could help you get on your feet here. Get on the plane, get back.
Well, and I guess where I would ask is where do you draw the line? What how do you pick a number, right? Because I mean, there are several who have been um, you know a lot of volunteers and whatnot down there. I've given them backpacks and donated food and toiletries. Help them charter buses to Houston and San Antonio where they can go through the legal processes. But where would you draw the line? What number? What you know?
Are we? And this is me asking. This is not. I think I'm even thought this is what they would have been met with. Right.
Right.
Yeah, we don't think any of them would make that trip to get beat, starve, and then sent back anyway and have to start all over. I wouldn't make that trek for that.
Well, and I'm not an expert on immigration. I don't. I was born, in Michigan, so
Right.
I don't know exactly what it takes to become a U.S. citizen. There are processes. I can't speak to that.
Right.
But have we given these people the chance to do that? It then makes me ask: is that how every person that enters the United States illegally? Is that how we treat every human being? Right. So, oh,
I know that like you'll hear the horror stories on the entire process of what it takes for that process for people to get their citizenship here, and uh, few, you hear some that are good, you hear some that are just terrible, and it's this many years of the process, and this are all the hoops that they had to jump through. So much so that TV now makes jokes on how impossible or how tough it's been made for those to get their citizenship in this country. Um, as far as picking a number, you're going to hear mixed reviews on the response, but are we at that critical point where we don't have room for this number of people, even for a temporary basis? I feel like we still do have a lot of untapped land in our country somewhere that we could have. I mean, you're in Texas. Texas is huge. There's a lot of space for cattle. I'm sure that we can make some space for people that would be livable, even just like I said, on a temporary basis.
yeah.
If we can have ranches and farms that are 200 acres and 500 acres and 1,000 acres, we could easily put some sort of facility that's better than cages, to where people can be treated fairly, get on their feet, and then go through that process. If it's not as impossible as some people over exaggerate the process being, okay, cool. If it's not that bad, they could be there for no longer than 6 months to a year, get the citizenship, and do it the right way
Yeah.
versus beating them and sending them back to starve.
Well, if they break the law and come in illegally, I mean, there is a process, right? So if they, do we not put felons in cages?
Yeah, we definitely at an alarming rate and
You know.
disproportionately. But anyway, um, we do that. I guess I watched how people responded to a lack of toilet paper a year ago.
Yeah.
And then I'm watching those same people say that, hey, after surviving an earthquake, when you're trying to provide for your kids, you didn't follow protocol.
Yeah.
You just punched Margaret in the face for Charmin. But this person trying
Right.
to provide for their family needs to make sure they jump through all these hoops. And yeah, I understand there's a process, but again, if it's known, I guess, so highly that it's going to be so hard for you to get approved or accepted or get your citizenship, and I'm trying to escape destitute poverty with me and Elijah, I'm probably going to sneak into a country. Just
Right. Well, yeah.
I'm at least going to go for it.
And yeah, as Andrew says, clearly someone's being treated well to make so many people think the American dream is worth it. Yeah, yeah. I mean, and truly, right? If we triple, if we triple all of our issues, we're still better than most of the world, most of the third world companies.
Right.
Right? I mean, if you take every bad thing in your life and you triple it, you still have a better life than most people in the world.
True.
Right? So America is great that way. You know, it was one of the wealthiest, if not the wealthiest, probably one or two wealthiest nations in the world. Right? Um, but on the same time, let's talk about this small town, the size of Woodstock, 36,000 people, and all of a sudden there's 40,000 Haitians wandering your streets. You just how would you react with your son down there? Hey, there he is outside, playing,
Right.
hopscotch. I don't know what he's into, right? But
So,
uh,
well, we're getting a chance to see a soccer game this weekend.
nice.
So he's got
So,
3 of them that will be it. So I'm
so he's out there kicking the ball around, and all of a sudden you see a flood of people, tens of thousands of people, start walking down your neighborhood. Now, how do you feel?
if they're walking in my neighborhood because they're escaping poverty from an earthquake, I'm actually not bothered.
But you may not know that.
I mean, you watch the news, and at the same time, like if 40,000 Haitians are in Woodstock, there's probably some that's not your typical audience in that metropolis.
Yeah, but
and they're saying that 85% of them are Hispanic in this neighborhood, and then all of a sudden, all these Haitians. If I'm down close to that border where I'm already in an area where the stigma is my own people illegally trying to get into this country, which they're saying Hispanic and Latino people, like, what that struggle is like as your own. I really can't turn my nose up at a Haitian doing what.
Yeah, but now you have all these Haitians coming in, right? And your auntie who lives with you hasn't cleared papers yet, so she's hanging out. Now you've got state troopers, people riding horses coming up and going, "Hey, where's your papers?"
Well, that goes back to my point, though. Why is my aunt having to hide? Why isn't she why isn't she confident enough to go through the process to get her citizenship? Why does she feel that she has to hide? And it goes back to the same thing. If it was as easy as people were saying that it is, there would be no need for that. If there was a facility where my aunt knew, and Jan was the one that commented, that's my aunt, that's my mom's twin. If Jan knew that she can come from, let's say, Africa, and she'll be at a place in Crystal Lake for 6 months, then after 6 months she can join us in Woodstock, my aunt would be there. But if she knows it's going to be multiple years and games and this, and if you don't have that, they send you, then like, all right, well, I had to get out of this place, so I'm laying low at my nephew's house.
Right.
And at the same time, if I know that I'm housing my aunt in that situation, once again, then I really can't turn my nose up at the Haitians because they're just doing what my aunt's doing. Who's better, who's worse? The laws change because she's blood? No. You're doing what she's doing. You're just a different color brown.
Right. But you would be, you'd be alarmed. You see a flood of people coming down, and you'd grab your boy, bring him inside. You wouldn't be like,
But it's not The Walking Dead. Like, these aren't zombies. Like, these are. I understand, like, if they're rough, tough as far as like appearance and because they're starving and things like that, but they're seeking salvation. They're not just out here to loot. Once again, I didn't see them with machetes in hand to just ramshack the town. Like, I'm watching people with their life is in a trash bag right now.
Right. Yeah, everything they own.
And if I know there is a credible location in our town that would be able to help people in this situation, I have zero concern.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Is the police weren't looking for your auntie until 40,000 people came in. Now the man is on the alert, right? It's like
Good.
life was good. Life was good at home. Hey,
This is you have to understand. I love you. This town is probably one of those towns that were close to the wall that was being built. Those people were on high alert. My aunt was on high alert way before the Haitians showed up. Right, we've been promoting this wall for a handful of years now, and with everything that happened with ICE and people get that probably not a settled town where everyone feels comfortable. They're not going to get deported. Prior to the Haitians, this country was gung ho for a wall, deporting the Hispanics and Latinos. So, and I'm in that town right across the border where I know in that neighborhood this is what happens.
well, yeah. So my understanding is the wall is in that area.
I'm just like if it's on the border of Texas and Mexico, then you are in a town that's probably dealt with immigration situation.
Sure. But now that wall goes up, and your auntie's on the right side of that wall, right? And so they're like, well, nobody's coming through anymore. Now, whoop, here's 40,000. We don't got to climb a wall. We'll just walk across the bridge. And I don't know, folks. I don't know if it's 40,000. Really have no idea that they're just thousands of people.
Right.
And the main issue here is that they're being treated inhumanely. And for people who want to argue the fact that, well, they're here illegally, even though if they're here illegally, they still have due process in the United States, right? We're seeing flagrant violations of constitutional rights, due process, just gathering up, deporting them back, hunting them.
Right.
It's
and you're seeing so many people on both sides, Democratic and Republican, who are frowning on the treatment of these individuals, despite legal, illegal. Like, there's a part of you that kind of, I guess for me, understands why you're here. Again, you're not here with machetes in hand. You're here trying to have some sort of
could be
stability.
a flagrant 3. Yeah, I mean, a flagrant 3 or 4 for some of this, right? And yes, the sitting, the president of the United States has been criticized by the handling of this. Been criticized by not going down there himself and seeing the conditions or seeing what's happening on the border. So there's a lot of political pull, but if we can erase all the political pull on this, Phil, and just say these are human beings, again, not strapped with ammunition and guns. They're strapped with, well, maybe a rock that their little daughter picked up on the trip north, right?
Trash bag.
Right. Yeah, exactly, Andrew. You and I are on the same page here with that. And Andrew just says, Phil's right. It's not weapons and drugs inside these garbage, but it's clothes and valuables. If even that, I mean, you got to understand. Google what Haiti looks like today. It's rubbles. It's horrible. And the village that they have created underneath this bridge is exactly what their life is like, right? They're living in shacks and tents and homeless and no electricity, and and they're trying to come here to have a better life, and he says they are not bringing the bad here; they are bringing hopes and dreams. However, murder. If you take a look at the numbers in Haiti, yeah, it's a high crime. So that's what these people know, right? That's how way they've had that's the way that they've had to live. Not all of them, but you can believe. I would guess that there are some people who to live and to survive have had to steal. Kill, whatever, right? Deal drugs, whatever you had to do to maintain your life there. But the crime rate in Haiti is hugely high. So we can't say, we can't say that they're not bringing the bad here. They could have several bad. We don't know. Right? So you think they're all good?
For instance, and I'm glad the Hogue was on this chat. So we all three know the same family that I'm going to talk about. I'm not going to use names though. Yes, the crime in the country of Haiti, due to how things are ran and the corruption and stuff like that, is high. I don't think that's just a reflection of all the people. I think, like Andrew just said, that's survival, not justifying. But I kind of understand again. If Crystal Lake can turn to punching old people for toilet paper, I think that that same group of people can be understanding to an extent of how survival changes people. If we would turn that fast and still be able to go to a freaking Starbucks, I could have some compassion for Mutombo who had to steal food for his kids. That's just me. There's a family in our area. Two of the brothers for sure played basketball in our program. The nicest people I've ever seen. And because of what they've seen in Haiti, there's been multiple times where I see two of the brothers and they've taken the shoes off their feet to say, here, give this to a kid in your program who needs it more than I do. Now, they got here the right way. I mean, they were adopted or whatever, but I can't just say, well, because they're Haitian, they're just going to bring in the crime, because this Haitian family is the nicest family in McHenry that I've met in my life.
Well, right, but we haven't been down to that tent city either, so we don't know what's happening there.
Right. But
Right,
I mean,
we're taking the San Diego Union Tribune and their spin on it to say, okay, here's what it is. Now, who knows? I don't. I mean, maybe they're prostituting people down there. I don't know, right?
but okay, but if we're going to play the stereotype, then they just said the town is 85% Hispanic, that most of that town is probably not there legally. If we're going to go by what America says about Hispanics and those people like that, the crime is already there.
Why would you say 85% are not there legally?
No, it said 85% Hispanic, and if it's a town
Right.
that close to the border, then I'm assuming some of them aren't there legally, right? So based off what the stereotype is that America has provided for Hispanic towns of that nature, the crime is already there. You're mad that I brought sand to the beach in that situation. It's just my sand's a different color,
Well,
or from a different side of the ocean.
but but we don't know if there's crime in that town. Right. Right.
No. But what I'm saying, we don't know that there's crime in that town. But what we're saying is, we know that they're bringing the bad because they're coming from Haiti somehow.
Oh no,
we've also
said they are not bringing bad. I'm just saying how we don't know that they could be bringing some bad.
But I guess we're picking and choosing when a Hispanic, 85% Hispanic town is safe and crime less. We'll hold that here now as a placeholder, because now we can do that to keep the Haitians from going to this safe town that there's no crime. But when was the last time on this show or even in the news that you've heard of a predominantly Hispanic town that has been heroed as safe and crimeless? I'll wait.
Well, right, but at the same time, we can't be naive enough to think that there isn't.
I'm just saying, when they're gathered less than 100 in Woodstock, police are called. So now you want me to believe that the entire town of those same people are safe? I think that it could be. I believe that it could be, but we're picking and choosing when we want to use. Because any other situation, when I hear in this country of a Hispanic town, is always painted as going to be horrible and crime-ridden and drugs. Now all of a sudden the Haitians want to go there. Well, we got to protect those that we just built a wall from. All right. Tough sell, but all right.
Well, all that I'm saying is we can jump to all the conclusions that we want and try to spin it how we want. I find it hard to believe that anybody with a family and all of a sudden there's a flood of people who are just walking in your yard and down your street and wouldn't alarm you. Like, what the heck is going on, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one. It's a very, very tough one because, like you said, there's been multiple people who have gone down there to help, to give aid and things like that. I don't know if I'm just going to assume lock the doors and board the windows.
Well, I didn't say that either. I just said you're going to feel uncomfortable. Especially
they aren't bringing the bad, though. The bad comes when you lock them up, put them in camps, and don't give them a chance to live. Right. That's when survival mode kicks in. And that's not a trait that's just specific to Haitians. That's the world.
True. But we don't know that they're not bringing the bad, right? They had to go through what 11 countries to get here. Through that 11 countries, hey, I need you to do this. I need you to take this with you to America. Here's food. Here's money to help you along your way, or I'll drive you through 10 of the 11 countries that you need to get you there. We don't know, right? They're called mules. I mean, they're
Yeah.
they're going through some pretty hard countries, right? They're going through Peru. They're going through the southern part of Mexico. They're going through Mexico, where we know is run by drug lords, and I'm
So,
I'm just saying that we can't be naive to think they're not bringing the bad, though.
all right. So, if we're gonna not be naive, can we not be naive and pretend and stop pretending like Matumbo on a backpack is bringing in more drugs than our own government brings into our own cities?
Oh no, I totally get that. I
If we're gonna not be naive,
I no, I didn't say that.
Matumbo in his trash bag is not bringing in
And we
more
can. I
than
mean,
our
that's a
own
whole different
government
conversation.
is
And I
bringing.
agree. I mean, cocaine came into this world through the FBI. Into the
Right.
United States.
So
So
if I gotta choose between, like, the bad is already here, right? If we're worried about who's really pushing weight, a person with a trash bag and a box is not bringing in more weight than people with planes, tanks, and anything else, trains, and whatever else they want to do.
well, I totally understand that, but that's not what we're talking about today. Is we're talking about the immigrants that have come through, and the reason that we're talking about it is the inhumane way that they have been treated once they get to the United States, right? So the big thing is right is there are processes that are in place to allow migrants to become legal immigrants here in the United States. And what's happening is we're not allowing a lot of these people that process,
Right.
right?
Right.
And that's where the word asylum comes in. Like, hey, we're getting away from all of this to come to America. We want to do it the right way. We're looking for asylum, but they're not allowing that to happen. Instead, they're whipping people. They're hunting people. It's not a pretty scene down there humanely
Right.
right now. Um, and if you're an American, everybody you are guilty until proven innocent now, right? Right?
And, but that's what we're talking about. And originally, is like, why isn't that process being placed? If there was, like, again, a holding area that was humane to be able to take them through this process that was supposed to be given, why is that being stripped? Why is that not an option?
Well, yeah. Why isn't the American government doing something with the Haitian government to work this out? In other words, you're just like, guess what? Load them up, drop them off. Good
Right.
luck. Start over. Shoots and ladders. You just hit a shoot. Sorry. Now we shoot you back home. Right. Now there are people down there whose job it is called quote unquote taxi drivers that help. Well, hey, you give me $150 and I'll get you to San Antonio where you have a chance to get into customs and all that stuff, right? Uh, the, you know those type of businesses and are now struggling because because there's a wall of a wall of U.S. Marshals along the Rio Grande there,
Right.
the river, right? So now I can't necessarily help people, or now that business struggles because I'm trying to give because I came and I fought this and I became an American citizen the correct way, and I want other people to do that too. And now I can't do that, right? I mean,
Do,
there's
do you feel like there could be an aspect, though, in severe situations like this, where it's understood why you're trying to get here, how you're trying to get here.
Sure.
And hey, look, we're going to meet you on this side of the river. Now we're going to take you to a facility where we're going to go through the correct process. We understand you were just trying to get to safety. Okay, cool. Understand on our side, though, you're doing it illegally. So what we want to do is take you through this process. If this is something that you really want to do, let's get it done the right way versus just without process, send you back home.
Well, and Phil, that's because you're a good guy, right?
Yeah,
I mean that's in your heart. That's in my heart, and our listeners. That that's in their heart too, right?
right.
And that's why we have trouble trying to wrap our head around. You and I couldn't get on a horse and start pistol whipping and just whipping people. We'd say, "Hey man, come over here. Let's talk. Let's how do we make your life better now that you're here?" Right?
If you and Hogel, with your families in tattered clothes and boxes, came to my crib for refuge, I wouldn't spar to kick you in the chest and send you on your way. Like, what happened? You're here for a reason. Like, let's work this out. Where we can get you some shelter. I just don't understand that type of treatment. Like you said, because we're good-hearted people, but I just feel like we by now, with the resources that we do have, should have a different protocol than what this is.
Right. Now, in recent days, Haitians have been freed on a very, very large scale, but they're like, you got 60 days to show up in immigration court or whatever,
Right.
and who knows where that's at in Texas, right? So now you've got 60 days to show up and no representation or very little, right? Because you
Right.
don't have any money.
You have
So
no money. Do you have a compass? Do you have like the way to really make sure you know? Because I'm thinking if you're
right,
on foot that far,
right.
I don't know if they use GPS or what the situation was, but like you're
So,
kind of guessing. Texas is huge.
so what's the answer? What's the solution to this? Let's
American.
see what Seneca brings. Seneca, good morning. Glad to have you with us, sister. Appreciate who you are and what you do. America has contributed to the corrupt policies and poor conditions in Haiti. They have also endured major natural disasters and have no homes to go to by no fault of their own. It is our responsibility as a top nation to take care of the quote unquote weak and weary. Hey, yeah, and that's what we've been talking about. I mean, this country, one of the poorest, Haiti, one of the poorest in the world, has just been rocked by massive earthquakes that is, I mean, left that country in ruins,
Right.
and just no power, no water, no clean water to drink. Yeah, it is horrible. And yeah, I mean, I know a lot of churches here in America. I know a lot of companies that do send a lot of supplies and people and whatnot down to Haiti, to try to help. But it is, I mean, do yourself a favor, just Google Haiti and just see what it looks like.
Images.
It's horrible.
Um, I just got this text message. It says, quick history on Haiti. First free black nation after the Haitian Revolution ended in 1804. There were more slaves in Haiti than the number of slave owners, more, in fact, than America. When France left, they made Haitians essentially pay reparations for the money loss from the ending of slavery. This took about 200 plus years to pay back. U.S. placed an embargo. The U.S. placed an embargo on them. Countries didn't acknowledge Haiti as a country, including the U.S., which stripped the Haiti of a lot of its money, resources, to the point where the lush land of Haiti, as it used to be, is now no more. So that's kind of the backstory on how they got where they are.
Yeah,
Natural disasters.
yeah, absolutely. I'm just trying to breeze through something real quick, to to throw something up on the screen. But I mean, yes, I mean it is absolutely nuts. And yeah, it's cuckoo for sure right now. Let me see. Is this the one I want? It may be. So let's do this. Yeah, this will just help some people who are watching. Those of you listening, that was probably the most riveting minute and a half of radio that me talking to myself. But let me throw this up next to Phil and I kind of give you an idea of what we're talking about to help you with that. So boom, let's go here. So I'm going to throw this up on screen. Here's one that that we have. Here's a picture. Let me get rid of that. Hold on. We don't need to see NASCAR. Holy white person. There you go. So if you take a look, this is looks like he's carrying some to-go boxes, so maybe some food for his family. Looks like they just might have gotten out of the river to try to get here. It looks like this guy's pants might be a little wet, so they just swam across. And looks like they have some Gatorade and some carry out, right? But here's when they say they're being hunted, there's a picture of it. That's a I don't know border guy, slicked out. He's got his flak jacket on. And a whip. And a whip. Here's here's a picture of here's a picture of the tent city there. This is
so then it seems like they're trying to not walk through the streets of the town, like they're just trying to get
yeah. They're just trying to get here. Here's some more. You see three guys on horseback, and these guys are carrying to go doggy bags.
Grocery bags.
Mounted officer attempt to contain migrants. And it looks like Lollapalooza, right? Here in America.
14,000 Haitians.
Look at this little guy, naked. These kids ain't even got clothes on, and these guys are hitting them with whips. What threat does this little guy have?
That's what I'm saying. It's hard to imagine in that situation, carrying my naked child in one hand and a bag of my belongings in the other. I'm not here to stir up trouble.
Yeah, I mean it's tough to understand on a human basis, right? Again, I'm not down there, and I don't. I guess I don't. Are these guys? Have these guys on horses escalated it themselves, or have they been given the order?
That's my other question, because if so many people in office are upset or disgusted or sickened by how the treatment of the Haitians have gone, who's sending the order?
Right.
To handle it this way.
So yeah, I mean, that's the interesting thing, I think, is have we become that society? Have we become that society that says, come over, land of the free, home of the get your ass whooped? I mean, come on in for your free beating, America.
America.
America, right? You know what I mean? You just kind of got to ask yourself sometime, what in the world, it's just crazy. It's crazy. And is this the right thing to do? So again, I go back to, all right. So in one of the articles it said about 10,000. Right. So that's a lot of people who have walked through 11 countries, or have walked for months. They could have stopped anywhere along the way, but for whatever reason they said America is where I want to be, and our welcoming party says,
Dude,
welcome.
Like if I walk for months in those conditions to get here, again, I'm not here to stir trouble.
Right.
I'm getting here because I was told this is where I can find refuge and this is where I can have an opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, it just it's a lot to take in, you know, um, and it's wild to think that, right? Uh, yeah. So I mean, what's the answer?
So,
How do we make it right?
so my other question, um, and this doesn't have to be a long discussion. There's people who are obviously criticizing Biden for allowing this to happen, and then in the article it talks about how this is a kind of the same protocol put into from the last president.
Yep.
We can't pick and choose. It was cool when this guy did it. It's wrong when this guy did it, or vice versa. When do we create a standard as far as like this treatment is wrong? It's not just different because of the president. This
Well,
act is not okay.
for everybody out there, kind of hop on your back there, Phil. Um, America. You know, um, well, that's send us your tired, send us your weary, send us your sick, your weak. You know what I mean?
Right,
That's how America was built, is by immigrants, right?
right,
This is how this country was founded. So much so that's what it says, man. Come on, come in, and they're saying you're going to have your hardcore people. You got to come in the right way. Well, they're trying. They're trying.
right.
Yet we're not allowing them to. We're taking away what a lot of the people who will say this is absolutely correct. We're taking away their constitutional rights as a migrant to come in and do it the right way, right? So I mean, yeah, Mel says it's sad how people can treat human beings like they are disposable. It's absolutely heartbreaking. Welcome to America. We do that all the time here. That's my opinion. Facebook, YouTube. That's my opinion. Don't take us off the air, right? That's my opinion. But yeah, how do you if you're a guy on that horse, how do you sleep at night? That's what I ask.
Right. But
Hey, honey, how was
you
work
have people.
today?
You
Oh
have
man, I whipped 28 Haitians. Yeah,
you have
what
people.
do you go home and say? You got to go home and go, man, I'm a big piece of crap. How do you look at your kid?
You have people who, when they're up on their high horse, they forget how to treat people, and that's
Right.
people just trying to survive. And I wish the people on their high horse would get off of it. But
Right.
so then we're going to, the difference between the presidents and what's right or wrong. Like, how do we get that message, that bridging message of this behavior is just unacceptable. We don't care who's in office.
Right.
As a country, we got to be better than terrible behavior is justified based off it comes from a DRR.
Right. I mean, look at this. Let me share this. Look at this. Uh, this is this is cute. I think it's cute. Anyway, that's bad. I say that, but here's a picture, right? Of here's a picture of a dad and his son being talking to a Mexican police officer that's blocking access to the Rio Grande, right?
Mhm.
He's got look at that fella. They come all this way, and he's got his water pistol or his Nerf gun. I love it. What are you going to take, son? Let's take the Nerf gun. I heard they're whipping people up there, Dad.
They're whipping people. So I got water pressure, Dad. This is a Super Soaker 1500.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. Right. Here's migrants, most from Haiti, across the Rio Grande towards Del Rio, Texas. Here they are, man. Look at this guy here, where my pointer is. That's his entire being that he's brought.
Right.
His entire being. This might be his family. Who knows? Look at these little kids. How do you? Wow. You know. There you go. You know. This is a
So
mic.
when we're looking at these pictures, there are a lot of children, right? Like a lot of children being brought in
Yep.
this. Do you think that the wording is also spun? Because if I can say, 14,000 Haitians and just leave it at that, people think of violent country, and not everyone there is going to be like that. And if you don't paint the picture, it's families, it's people
Right.
with their children as well.
Right.
Because if you word it that way, then there's going to be compassion. People hear children, despite how things are in our own country with how we treat children. You'll get a little bit more compassion. But when you just say 14,000 Haitians, that could be a blanket statement that people are going to think, violent people with machetes are walking through the towns versus people with trash bags in one hand and their naked child in the other. But it goes back to what you say about the puppet master, right? The word things a certain way to get a certain response from people.
Yeah. I mean, that's the deal. And yeah, Andrew says, I got two kids today. Clear. Where's my beer? Oh, 2 day deer. Where's my beer? Yeah, right. Yeah. Where's my natty light? That's it. Whoop 2 little kids. They didn't even see me coming, man. It was great. Got them right off their feet. Yeah. How do you sleep at night? These are human beings, and it's not like, it's not like their life on these horses is in jeopardy.
Right.
I mean,
you don't feel threatened.
You might be threatened by that super soaker.
That super soaker. That 1,500 is serious.
You might be threatened by the 2 bottles of Gatorade and the three to go packs. That's got 2-day-old tacos in it. I don't know, right? The American dream, Nate says, spend more time working, try to save up money to make ends meet, just to die not long after you almost achieved that goal. What a dream we have! But you know what? To somebody in Haiti, it's a huge dream.
Right. It's a
the opportunity to work, the opportunity to make money, and support your family. Right, Mark. Good morning, brother. I believe we are a society that is driven by fear and have lost all of our common sense when it comes to how we treat each other as human beings.
When people respond in fear, they become irrational. They stop learning when to stop. Case in point, without evaluation, I'm just going to keep beating people.
Yeah.
Who are just trying to protect themselves and spend time with their family. Stop swinging the whip.
That kid's gun might have been loaded, but that Mexican police officer was just standing there. He wasn't whipping him.
He was stone cold. He's been in a super soaker fight before.
That's right. I've seen this.
I got 2,500 in my backpack, son. You're a rookie at this.
So, and I know we're on the back 2 minutes here, and what is? I've asked several times, what's the answer? Here's the answer, if I can give it. Treat people like human beings.
Right.
That's what they are. And again, like I said, you could take your worst day and everything that you feel is horrible in your life, multiply that by 10. And you know what? Your life is still better than those people who are making their way from Haiti. Still better. You're still richer. You're still have more options than them. And even on your worst day, you aren't getting whooped by a dude on a horse. Even on your worst day. Right? And that's the answer is, yeah, they're here. Let's take care of them. Let's figure out how to do it legally. And that's what we are. We're the land of the free, the home of the brave. We've got opportunities that they don't. So guess what? Why can't we just take care of them like people?
Realistically, 14,000 Haitians could come into this country, disperse into the different cities across the country, and those without getting that information would never know the difference. You wouldn't feel that all of a sudden jobs are gone or anything like that. Only reason why it's being brought up so as to get you up in arms about it. But realistically, we could provide shelter to that number of people, and it wouldn't cause a ripple in our country, making it worse than what it already is.
Yeah.
Thank you for everyone who tuned in, though. Absolutely
Yeah,
love you.
I love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Come back at like about 1 o'clock for the Neighborhood Pulse, and catch us next week. We love you guys for joining us. And this is what we do on the bridge, right? The bridge is all about things that are creating civil tension. And guess what? We just covered it. So, for all of us here at 21.6 The Net, thanks for getting caught in the net with us. Be kind, love one another. Check out Lelos. Phil, have a safe trip down there and enjoy that soccer game.
It's going to be awesome.
All right.
Love you guys.